right in front of all these officers. So he wrote me up. You know, you're not supposed to do that kind of thing in the Navy. He wrote me up. I mean, to get back down there, and of course I had all these officers and chiefs and everybody was sitting around there. So they knew me. They knew if I had said it was done, you know. But he was just trying to act like a big whip, so he wrote me up in it. And the officer said, well, he said, I see what happened. He's the leading man down there. He's in charge of the whole place. So he said, I'll tell you what, he said, we're going on a cruise. He said, I'll put you down for shore patrol. He said, I'll restrict you to the ship for 3 months, but I'll put you down for shore patrol for every city, every port we go to. So every port we went to Greece, I had shore patrol. We went here, I had shore patrol. We went there. I think that's the time we went to Istanbul, I think. I had shore patrol in Istanbul, I think. And another time I went over one time, they changed the duty roster, or I got the duty roster mixed up somehow. And I went ashore and I was sitting over in Luna, what they call Luna Park, sitting there in the sun and drinking a beer or doing something, I don't know, can't remember. And these guys come up to me, one guy's name was Marsh, I don't know. And they say, they're looking for you on the ship. He said, what's his name's taking your watch? I said, what do you mean? I don't have a watch today. He said, yeah. He said, they changed the duty roster, you didn't check it. I said, oh geez. So I talked to the guys on the captain's gig. The captain got a special boat that brings them ashore, and I talked to them. I said, well, can I ride back out with you when you go? He said, yeah, we're going right now. I said, I'll just ride up here. I said, you guys just go up like you usually do. And I said, I'll climb up on the boom and go back aboard. So that's what happened. They tied a boat out at the end of the boom, which is like 20 or so. It's way out from the side of the ship, and then you climb up a ladder there, and then they walk onto the ship. So after they were gone, that's what I did. I climbed up the ladder and walked onto the ship and went and changed my clothes and went down to the engine room. He said, so-and-so was already down here, and he said, I told him I was just standing by for you for a minute. So then I took the watch, and that's the way things went. And on that ship, there was a chief machinist mate named Green. He's a pretty old guy to be in the Navy. I don't know, he probably was pretty damn close to 60 then. I don't know what he was doing in the Navy. They said he was a reserve. I didn't really understand the whole thing. But he was a Mason. And in the services especially, they got Masons stick together. And this guy was supposedly a 33rd degree Mason, whatever that means. And the captain was a Mason. So, and the captain was a lot younger than this guy. And this guy's name was Ed Green, and he had little old bug eyes, and he talked funny, and everybody used to make fun of him. And he thought he knew everything there was, and he used to push his weight around, and he used to put guys on report for this and that. He was always putting somebody on report, and they never did anything about it because he did it so many times it didn't have any effect. So anyhow, this one guy, he had this one kid named, and he made him mix these little quarter cans of paint, or little bitty quarter cans of paint, and he had about 15 of these cans of paint, and he would have them mixing these things up for a certain color. And after he got this certain color he wanted, he had him take them right behind where the throttle was, and there was 4 letters up there, A, B, C, and D, which designated throttle blocks. And there was some valves there, and so he had him paint each one of those letters a certain color, Well, I was always in trouble with this guy, Chief Green. He was always on my butt about something, painted those things all the colors he wanted. And I went down on that night, I went down with some bright red paint, and I painted all those letters, and I said, all you got to do is tell them that you never looked at those letters, you don't know anything about them. And that's what he did. And that chief come down the next morning, and that guy like to blew up. I'm telling you, that guy like to blew his top. And everybody knew who'd done it because nobody else had guts to do that but me. And he said, when I catch that guy, I'm gonna make him lick that paint off with his tongue. Well, he didn't catch me, and the whole ship was laughing at him because of that, because the word traveled fast. And he got off the ship just after that. Another chief come on. he had them repaint them letters, and I snuck down there and painted them again. So that's how I got back at Chief Green for chewing my ass all the time. So then I stayed on that ship for a couple of years, and I went up all the way to second class on that ship, from fireman to second class. Every year you can take a test every year, and if you pass this test and everything's okay with everybody else, and they kick you up a grade, you know. So I went up from all the way up to E5, second class. And then I was kind of in charge of, during the watches, and I was always in charge of, I always handled the throttles on the ship. Those ships would steam for a long time, just steam straight, and all these other ships would come up and we'd pass ammunition to them through a high line. They'd shoot ropes over there and pull stuff back and forth and pull the dummy ammunition. And real ammunition, sometimes it was real ammunition to some of the, because these destroyers and that would go out and shoot at targets and have all this kind of stuff. And we always were doing that kind of stuff. I'd stay on them throttles for a long time. Sometimes sometimes I had you doing a lot of maneuvering, and sometimes you didn't do any. And going in and out of port, I was always on the throttle. You always wanted me on the throttle and going on and in and out of port. So I never got to see anything going in and out of port because I was down in the engine room. So it's like that in the Merchant Marine too, except a few times. So I remember this one time we were steaming along there, and we'd been steaming like at 40 turns. They always said turns on the engine, you know. Turns on the propeller. 40 turns for, I don't know, 2 days, and we had one boiler secured, and nobody was planning on doing any maneuvering. All these ships were coming up beside us and picking up their loads or whatever. And I remember all of a sudden, I saw all these officers and chiefs and first class and all these guys come piling down the engine room. You know, you got this real straight ladder steps going down there, and all these guys are jumping down there, and all of a sudden I get a full astern bell. Well, with one boiler on, you can't do very much. You got to watch what you're doing because you only got so much steam. So I answered the bell and put full astern, and they told me we're just about being in a collision. Better hold on. And what had happened was a tanker that was supposed to be coming up beside us, come beside us, was instead of coming up beside it, was out too far, and when they went to make the turn, they were sliding into us. Well, they came about 2 feet from hitting the side of that ship, I guess. And nobody got hurt, and nothing happened except we slowed down, you know, as much as we could. And that tanker went by, and then they turned around and made another pass and learned how to do it. These were all officers on these ships that were practicing doing this kind of stuff. And when you were doing this, you had a pair of headphones on and a speaker in front of you like this, like you see in the movies, you know. And so this one time I was doing this maneuvering, and I had this speaker on, and some of these officers on the bridge would give you too many speeds. You could only change speed maybe once every couple minutes, because when you closed the throttle and did these things, it took a long time to do it. It took a long time for the ship to react. So this guy was giving us 4 or 5 speed changes a minute. And I was talking, and you're supposed to have a button on this microphone. When you push the button down, when they can hear you talking. When you leave the button up, they can't hear you. So I didn't know that the button was broke on this microphone, see? And I was talking to somebody over beside me or somebody. I said, yeah, this damn fool is giving us, I don't know who this is, but I said, this damn fool is, of course I was cussing, swearing at him probably. He says, giving us all these speed changes, and I said, we can't do nothing. I said, you can't answer speed changes that quick. And I said, all we're doing is just writing them down, and then we try to slow down a little bit or speed it up a little bit or do something. And I said, this guy is crazy. And so somebody told me after that was all over that guy had a pair of headphones on and he was listening to everything I was saying, and that button was stuck. That button was stuck, and I was telling everybody what an asshole this officer was. So nothing happened then. But I bet he must have wised up.